Yeah. New guys coming to you live. You could bet this like Jerome. New guys are men of steel. Best coverage in the league. Prime Reavers on the field. Don't know better ask. Nick, the hype is real. Gurus with the knowledge. You can check the mass appeal. They gon' turn your fantasies into dollar bills. Making dynasties from drafts like the Spurs when they build. Want the bragging rights and titles at your work. Let the new guys serve the wisdom to you first. I ain't advertising, just kicking facts. They turn average Joes to Drakes cause they winning back to backs. So sit back, relax, all ears when they speak. And rain on competition with anything they leak. Make leagues joy gray like Ramsey did Reek. Passing off the mic, I'm out here, peace.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a while, and I know this is much earlier than the last few seasons. Welcome back to our podcast. I'm Gerard, as you know, and I'm here with a special guest today, my friend Brett Murray, aka Gurtis.
Yes, sir.
Say hello to the people.
It's great to be here, G-Bear. Let's do this.
And this is way too early, but this special edition is going to be all about tomorrow's NFL draft.
Never too early, G-Bear.
Never too early, exactly. So, hopefully we will get this uploaded before the draft takes place. And, yeah, I'm pretty excited. Brett, let me ask you, do you think Arizona is going with Kyler Murray #1? That seems to be what everyone's leaning towards. What's your opinion?
It's really weird. You see the last few days, people are starting to get mixed messages like, oh, maybe this was all just a clever little smoke charade to throw everyone off. I think it's got to be Kyler Murray because that's the only way hiring Cliff Kingsbury makes any sense is if he's getting his guy. Because you just gave up on Steve Wilkes after 1 year. You gave up on Josh Rosen after 1 year. The only way that makes sense is if you get Kingsbury and he wants his guy. And I think that's got to be the pick.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a smokescreen. I do think they end up going with Kyler Murray, which begs the question, where will Josh Rosen be playing next year? Honestly,
interesting. Because
they sort of played their hand, they're not going to get fair value for him.
Yeah.
They're trying to hold out for a first rounder. I don't think it's going to happen. Apparently there was a second rounder on the table, but
I think it'll be more like a second rounder. But it wasn't a very good smokescreen because Josh Rosen knows he's on the clock. Like I think everyone knows that Kyler Murray's going to be the pick, so now they have no leverage.
Unless we're all wrong and they go with Bosa or Quinnen Williams or something.
Very interesting.
I mean, Arizona does have a lot of holes, so it is possible
they
go in a different direction. But we'll see. It seems like we're in agreement on the #1 pick. #2, San Fran. Where are they going?
Every mock draft I see pretty much is consistent with Nick Bosa.
Yeah.
And the only other one I can see in that pick is Keenan Williams, if they like him better. I think they'll take Nick Bosa, the best player in the draft on most boards. They don't need a quarterback. They need help on defense. They need a lot of help on defense. Could use a corner, but it's not worth taking a cornerback that high.
No, unless they trade back, that's not going to be their pick.
Yeah, if I were them, I would listen to calls to take back, to move back. But you know what? I'll take the best player on the board, Nick Bosa.
Now, any injury concerns with that pick? At #2, you want a sure thing. Williams, many are arguing, is the best player in the draft.
You could certainly make the argument, and I couldn't blame you if you took Keenan Williams. I just think I value edge rushers more than I value defensive tackles, even though Keenan Williams is kind of the exception because he can also rush the passer. There's a little bit of a concern with Nick Bosa, but he should be fresh. He hasn't, he sat out the year because he didn't want to, get hurt again, ruin his draft stock. So as long as he stays healthy, I think he'll be just fine. I think he'll have a really nice career, some nice pass rushing moves.
All right, well, before we move on to the Jets pick, I just want to circle back real quick because we were in agreement that Arizona's probably taking Kyler Murray.
Sure.
Where do you think, come August, September, Josh Rosen will be playing?
Oof, that's so tough. I really hope and full transparency, me and
It's
G.
not the
Barrett are
Giants.
Giants fans.
Yes, we are.
And we do not want Josh Rosen.
If we can get him for a third rounder, I'm okay with that. But
I wasn't particularly high on him last year when he was
either.
in the discussion as maybe the top quarterback. But I don't particularly want him. I could see a team like Washington, maybe Denver, trading for him.
Washington,
Miami maybe is a possibility
Washington keeps getting linked to the Jets in a move to trade up
for Haskins.
for
I've
Haskins.
been hearing that a lot too.
But honestly, Denver does make a lot of sense because Joe Flacco, who they just acquired, is not their quarterback of the future.
Can learn under him.
He's going to be a mentor, a bridge quarterback for a year, maybe two. So I agree, Denver makes a lot of sense. And Miami, if they're willing to trade up with the Jets,
Miami's very interesting.
or for Rosen. It's a matter of perception, and I don't think last year did Josh Rosen any favors.
Yeah, I mean, but you never know. Look at Jared Goff, complete bust his first year.
That's
you
true.
You
They
bring
got
in
him
Sean
talent, they
McVay.
got him a line, they got him a new coach.
Yep.
Okay. Alright, so on to pick number 3. This is probably the pick that's been most rumored to be traded. As we just mentioned, Miami, Denver, there's a handful of teams rumored to want to move up, take their quarterback, and jump ahead of the Giants, and potentially Oakland. There's still a chance Oakland throws a curveball at us. They do have 3 picks this year. There's a chance they take a quarterback. They have a lot of flexibility to move around if they want. Do you think the Jets keep their pick, or do they find a suitor?
I think they want to find a suitor. I think they want to trade out. I don't know if anyone's gonna want to, because you hear, and you never know because they say it's lying season. Everything's a smokescreen. People say things because they want someone's draft stock to fall, so they don't have to trade up for him. Maybe someone does want to trade up for him, and they're just bluffing. I think they end up staying because I don't think they're gonna get a good enough offer. Or, vice versa. They can't, they don't like him enough to where they want to move up and mortgage their draft. I think the Jets take either Keenan Williams or Josh Allen.
Okay. I, for a while, was in agreement there. I think they end up taking Josh Allen. I've been reading a lot of reports that they really like Ed Oliver, as does Oakland at 4. So I think the Jets are planning to hopefully trade back a couple of picks, still get their guy in Ed Oliver, and ideally fix what they did last year. Last year, they picked Sam Darnold, their franchise quarterback, but they traded the farm for him. They gave away, I believe, 3 second-round picks and their first round last year, which was ironically 3 to 6. So I think they try to get some of those picks back. That's ultimately why I think they want to trade back. But I agree. I don't.
Question is, will they find a partner?
I don't think so. And there's so much uncertainty about Drew Lock, Daniel Jones, Haskins, that I don't think anyone's comfortable moving up to 3. And other than the Giants, Miami, Denver, they're all 10 and 13, I believe. They would have to trade a lot to move up to 3.
Yep.
Alright, so we're not going to go through every pick, but Oakland is one of the more interesting teams here.
They're the wild card. Gruden is always the wild card.
Chucky's the wild card. Oakland's got 3 first-rounders, the 4th, 24th, and 27th pick. And I'm very excited to see what they do. I'm not a Raider fan, but that is a lot of leverage in the first round.
I'd be shocked if he went quarterback at 4. You know what they always say about John Gruden? He likes to date quarterbacks. He does not like to marry them.
Yeah.
And I think when you take a quarterback at 4, you're marrying him. You're tied to him for the next 3 or 4 years, the foreseeable future. And he doesn't like to do that. John Gruden is an old school guy. He wants to bring the NFL back to the Stone Age, basically. He likes his grinders. He likes the trenches, and he likes running
the ball. Yep.
I think he'll take a defensive stud. Could be Keenan Williams. Could be Ed Oliver, Devin White. Whoever he likes the most on defense and is still there at 4. I think that's going to be the pick.
That's key, whoever's still there. Because at 4, you can't necessarily get the guy you want. So do you think any of the quarterbacks in the first round fall to pick 24? And if they do you think Gruden takes any of them?
I don't see it. I think at 24, if Josh Jacobs is still there, I could totally see them grabbing
their
it.
running
That's
back
such a
need.
Gruden pick. He likes the big physical runner. Marshawn Lynch just retired.
Yes.
Again.
After, what, 11 years?
Yeah, I
Good
think
for
this.
him.
I think this time
I
it's
think
gonna
it's
be
done.
official.
Yeah.
So he likes him some grinders. Josh Jacobs is a grinder. He can break tackles. He can run you over. That makes a lot of sense to me.
It will be interesting, though. Let's say one or two quarterbacks hypothetically do stay on the board somewhere in the teens. If Josh Jacobs goes, Oakland can package one or both of those picks to move up and end up with Drew Lock or somebody. I don't think that's their plan A. I agree. I think they're going to fill the void of Marshawn Lynch because Doug Martin is not their answer at running back. So we'll see what happens, but it should be pretty exciting there.
Yes, sir.
We will pass on Tampa. They have a lot of needs. They're not going to trade. And go to the Giants. Brett, we've disagreed on this pick a lot.
Yes, we have.
For a while, you wanted
Many
to
debates.
trade up for Haskins. I want to, and people might call me crazy, I want to wait another year on quarterback.
You are crazy, G-Man.
I will defer to you. What do you want the Giants to do?
Okay.
What do you think they will do? And why?
I've wrestled with this a lot. At first, I was all in on Haskins at number 6. To me, the dream scenario, and the question is, can Gettleman pull this off? Will he pull it off? I want the best defensive player available at 6 because we have a lot of gaping holes. We traded Olivier Vernon. We
Traded Odell Beckham.
Exactly. We have a lot of needs, particularly on the defense. Have not had a pass rush in the past few years since JPP blew off his fingers. I want either Ed Oliver, if Devin White is still there. If Tampa doesn't take Devin White, I feel like we have to take Devin White. The man is a stud. I know inside linebackers aren't as valued as the outside pass rushing linebackers, but Devin White is the exception to the rule. I think he'll be better than Roquan Smith last year. You hear him in interviews. He's my favorite player in the draft because he talks like a franchise quarterback. He just gets it, and I think he's a natural leader, and I think he'll be a perfect fit in New York. And if he's gone, maybe Ed Oliver, the best defensive stud at 6. And then I would like to trade up and get Haskins because I like Haskins a lot. I think he'd be perfect for us to sit a year, redshirt him, because I don't think he's a finished product, but he has so much potential, and if he just sits, he learns, improves his pocket presence, he can be our guy going forward. That would be my dream scenario. Let's say you, G-Bear.
All right, so at 6, it's hard to say who's going to be left, but I think we're in agreement. Bosa, Murray, and Allen will be gone. Devin White, maybe, will be left. So there's a bit of uncertainty. Before I get into what I want, it's hard to see the Giants passing on Haskins at 6. A lot of the fan base are demanding for Eli's successor.
We have no idea what Gettleman's doing. You hear a lot that he doesn't want a quarterback at 6, but again, could be a smokescreen because he doesn't want anyone to trade up. So
I've seen everything from the Giants are going to trade their 17th pick up to take a quarterback to they're going to end up trading back. I've seen it all. And I can't sit here and tell you I know what Gettleman's going to do because I don't.
I don't even know if Gettleman knows what he's doing.
Honestly, I think this is a defensive draft class, and I think we can fix our defense this year.
So who do you want?
That would start with assuming Devin White's off the board because that's who I want at 6.
Yeah, we're in agreement there.
We're in agreement there. If he's off the board, I really don't think Ed Oliver goes. So I think we can take him at 6.
Okay.
I think he's the next best player on the board. And also, if Oakland or the Jets or someone do take him, that means someone else falls. Whoever falls out of Williams, Bosa, if that happens, that's who we should
One more
grab.
stud for us, absolutely.
But ideally, I'm in agreement with you about Devin White there. Before we move on, I do just want to get into the second half of my plan. I don't want to take a quarterback this year. I'm not saying Eli's going to have a complete resurgence. He's not
He's
going
not.
to resurrect.
He's not.
But I think he can be serviceable if we can buy him more time. I've said this for a few years, and he was actually
Second half was better. He played a lot better.
decent last year. Yeah, in the second half.
O-line will be better.
O-line will be better
With Zeitler.
with Zeitler.
I really like Zeitler.
Also, I
Great
think
addition.
with Beckham gone, Barkley's going to get a lot of attention. So we're going to face a lot of man coverage. And with the extended time, I think Eli will be serviceable because I think Evan Ingram, Golden Tate, and Sterling Shepard, yes, Odell is gone. I know that. But that is still a solid core of players who can catch the ball, as can Saquon Barkley out the back. So if Eli has a couple seconds to make 2 or 3 reads, I think it's fine. We can fix our defense this year in a strong defensive class. Run Barkley, protect Eli a little better. I'm not saying we're going to win the Super Bowl, but I think we can have a decent year.
What do you want at 17?
At 17, ideally Farrell from Clemson, but I'm a little biased there because my brother goes there.
Very true.
But that's, again, going to depend on who's left. Also, a couple people can fall. Montez Sweet, because he has an enlarged heart. Rashawn Gary tore
I think
something.
he will fall.
So both of them are potentially going to fall. I wouldn't mind at 17 grabbing either of them, Rashawn Gary or Montez Sweet, just because they were both.
I thought it was Sweat.
It might be Sweat, honestly.
I believe it's Sweat. We'll confirm that later for you guys. Don't worry.
We'll go with Sweat. I don't want to gross anyone out, but okay. So if Sweat or Gary fall to 17, which there's a chance they both do now, they were both, for many, considered to be top 10 picks. So at 17, yes, there's risk there, but I feel like it would be worth it.
I don't want Gary. Personally.
You don't want Gary.
Even before the
Okay.
shoulder injury, This is the
pegged him
problem
as a
I have.
second
This is the
rounder?
problem I have with the NFL. and
The
way
lack of
things are
sacks?
drafted. It's you have to draft for production, not 40 times and rippedness. Like DK Metcalf is the sudden talk because he's ripped and he ran a good 40.
He also jumped very high.
Gary
Benched
is
a
highly
lot.
coveted because he looks the part and he's athletic, but he only had a few
5.5 sacks.
Yeah, his production was not there. I don't even think he's the best edge rusher on his own team. I think Chase Winovich is actually better than him. I would take him over Rashad Gary, and I think he's going to fall now with the shoulder injury.
Okay.
We shall see.
So we'll touch more a bit on pick 17 as we go through this. But as I mentioned, I don't want to take a quarterback this year. The only one I'm sold on is Kyler Murray, and I don't think we can get him without trading the farm. I think next year is a stronger draft class, assuming Tua declares, from Georgia declares. Even Jacob Eason from Washington, I think, is probably going to be better than Haskins, Locke, and Daniel. There's a few other quarterbacks there, Stanford, who might be, but I think the 3 of them are all better than anyone not named Kyler Murray this year.
Eli
And
ain't
I think
getting
even-
any younger, G-Man.
I think that's fine. I think Eli will play better than everyone expects this year. And I could be wrong on that. But Eli doesn't miss time, too. He can get us through the year. He can still play next year as the backup and coach up whoever we take next year. And I just personally think next year is a very strong quarterback class compared to this year. So we can fill a lot of other holes. We can fix the defense this year. The entire defense, potentially, this year.
I understand your reasoning. I really do. It's a strong defensive draft. We have a lot of holes. It makes sense. But the problem is we paid... Eli Manning is the highest paid quarterback this year. That is insane. Because if you look at his numbers, he's been the worst quarterback. And the only one worse than him last year was Josh Rosen, who, of course, we're trying to trade for.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
dumb.
So,
Eli has been one of the worst over the last few seasons. I think he was cooked last year. I saw him regress to the point where even when he had time, he just was not making his reads. He wasn't going through his progressions. He was skip balls to Barkley, ready to go, backwards 5 yards to the line of scrimmage, just get the pass, and you get a loss instead of a first down. I think he's good enough to teach Haskins, and that's what I want. I want him to be a mentor, because otherwise it makes no sense we could have saved $17 million if we cut Eli Manning this year. We could have used that to pay a pass rusher.
Instead, it's a very expensive
like,
bridge.
Now we're paying a 38-year-old quarterback who's, again, he's not getting any younger. But we'll see.
So we're in a bit of disagreement. I don't mind him playing this season out. Let Eli have his swan song. If Kobe can have his swan song, if Dwayne Wade can have his season tour.
That's the thing. He can play. I'm totally fine with him playing and teaching Haskins. But if you have Haskins, you redshirt him for a year. He learns from a legend. You know, I respect Eli. I love him.
Future
he won his 2 Super Bowls.
Most likely.
But he's done, and I don't think you pay him. I think he should take a pay cut. You don't pay him for what he's done. You pay him for what he's going to do.
And he's not going.
And I think at this point he's just a bridge. He's like Kurt. You know, Eli learned from Kurt Warner. That turned out pretty well. I think Haskins is raw, but he has all the potential in the world. You draft him. You teach him under Eli. Next year we got a pretty good quarterback, but we'll see.
Well, next year we also have 90 to 103 million in cap space.
Been there, done that.
Depends what we do. Hey, we can fill more holes through free agency next year.
Just saying, you win through the draft, and we proved it. Remember, we went on a little shopping spree a couple of years ago.
We did.
We got Olivier Vernon.
And it was nice for a year.
Completely overpaid for snacks, and then we traded him away for a 5th-round draft pick.
Which I think we could have gotten more for that.
Yeah, me too. Beside the point. The point is, the Washington Redskins outspend everyone every year. It never really works. You win through the draft. I don't mind if there's a good free agent. We got Plexico Burress. We won a Super Bowl with him. If you like a guy a lot, that's cool. You got the money, pay him. But I feel like you don't want to spend money just to spend money.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. All right, we'll move on.
Who's your most interesting pick coming up now, G? After the Giants, who's the pick that you're looking at? The interesting
team-wise or player-wise?
I'd say team-wise. Like, who do you think could be?
Honestly, I think a trade candidate, as you said, is potentially Miami for a quarterback. Washington. Also, and I don't think this will happen this early on at 7 or 8 or anything. Mm-hmm. But as you know, I am enamored with DK Metcalf, and I think he's going to be the best receiver in this class.
You heard it here first.
And whether I am right or wrong about this, someone
will take
is going to feel the same.
I agree.
Somebody will feel the same. So I don't think at 7 or 8, but I could see somebody like Washington who could use a wide receiver 1, a young piece of talent to build around, or potentially Baltimore. Teams like this, I can see them trading up to 10, 11, 12, and which I think is way too early, but using that pick for DK Metcalf, or if they feel someone else, but honestly the one hyped up the most is him.
Someone's going to take him early.
So
I agree.
That's what I'm most intrigued about.
Be a mistake for me, but someone's going to take him.
If he's left at 15 to 20, I don't mind that, but I think someone trades a couple picks ahead of that and ends up taking him, which is a bit much, but when you have a need or when you really like your guy, you go get your guy.
Yes, sir.
So that I don't know who, but maybe Baltimore, maybe Oakland with their 2 late round picks. Mm-hmm. So those are things I could see happening, and those are things I'm looking out for. What about you?
I think Denver's really interesting at pick number 10, and the Bengals right after them at pick 11, because that's the section where, like, all right, do they stand pat and do they take a quarterback if someone falls to them, or do they take the best available player? We've been saying, it's a very deep defensive draft class. You're going to see defensive players flying off the board. Everyone's got their own mock draft. What do the Broncos and Bengals do? Do they prepare for the future and get a quarterback? Do they steal Haskins from us? I hope not. Or do they go for... Shut up, G. Or do they go for their need or their best player? So those 10 and 11, that's what I'm looking out for.
Okay. Just to go back to the receivers. You've stated you were not sold on Metcalf and you think he's a bust. Where are you going? Top receiver in the class: A.J. Brown, Paris Campbell. Who do you like at receiver? Marquise Brown or nobody?
I think it's a very deep wide receiver draft, and I wouldn't waste a first round pick on receiver this year because I don't see at the top. I don't see anyone I love. I like Marquise Brown. He's really small. He's explosive, but he's like my size. He's like 5'9", 106. That gives me hope to play in the NFL. Honestly.
Yeah.
He's like my size. That concerns me a little bit. I actually like DK Metcalf's other wide receiver better than him. I don't even think he's the best wide receiver on his own team. I think A.J. Brown is a better receiver. My guy is...
I just like his name. There's going to be an A.J. Brown and an A.J. Green
very true.
in the league.
I like
at the same
Andy
position.
Isabella. I think there's guys in the second round that I would rather take and wait for than take a wide receiver in the first round. And then you got explosive guys all over the field. Arcada is a guy that has the big play potential out of Arizona State. There's guys I'd rather take deeper. I don't like the top wide receivers because I think you can get value in the later rounds.
Okay. So let me ask you, now that we're close to midway through the draft,
Yes, sir.
who is your biggest riser and who is your biggest faller?
I think, like I said, I think Rashad Gary is going to fall, and I think Sweat is also going to fall. The injury history with Sweat, it's the heart issue. Sweat's another guy that I can see so much potential in him, but again, his production did not match up to his potential. And the sack numbers are there, but I'm more into the analytics, the pressures, and the pressures were not there as much as the sacks. And I think he's going to fall. And I think Gary is definitely going to fall with the shoulder injury. I think people are going to look at his film. There's so many edge rushers and D tackles that I think they're both going to slip.
Okay.
As far as rising, I like Reisner. The offensive tackle. He's not as big and tough as some of the offensive linemen, Jawan Taylor, Jonah Williams, but he's very athletic. He's very twitchy for offensive lineman, and tackle's always a valued position. I think he's going to rise a lot.
Okay. I think the biggest riser we've already talked about, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but over the past week or two, Ed Oliver has gained so much traction and hype.
True.
Last week he was projected probably low teens, and all of a sudden they're saying he could be the third overall pick potentially. So I don't think he's going to go at 3 or 4, but between 5 and 7 I do, and that early in the draft I'd say he's the biggest riser. I'm intrigued to see where Dexter Lawrence goes because of his suspension and everything. So there's potential he falls, but I don't think it's going to be significant. He'll still be a first rounder. He'll still probably be in the top 20, 25 to play it safe, I'll say. But yeah, the biggest faller is probably Rashawn Gary because his health is very much in question now, and like you said, the stats really weren't there last year. But we'll see.
Just wanted to add a correction. I said Andre Reisner. It's Andre Dillard. I'm sorry. I don't know why I was thinking Reisner. Dalton Reisner. That's why.
Threw me off a little.
Yeah.
Actually, I will state one more faller. Insert quarterback, because I don't know who it's going to be. I know we're in agreement it won't be Kyler Murray. I do think one of the quarterbacks between Locke, Jones, and Haskins will fall.
Who goes first?
Out of those?
Yes, sir.
I think most people say Haskins. I sort of like
You like
Duke.
Locke a little
I like
bit.
Locke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to say Locke goes first. I think Daniel... Oh, I said Duke, didn't I?
Yeah.
Jones was from Duke. I think Daniel Jones from Duke is the guy who falls. But ultimately, whichever quarterback goes last is the guy I think is going to fall.
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to guess, Daniel Jones. What about you?
Who goes first?
Who goes first, and then if
I think
any of them fall, which
Haskins
one?
is going to go first. I think it's a question of, do the Redskins trade up for him? Do we trade up for him?
Does Oakland surprise everyone?
Yeah, or does Denver stay pat and they get him at 10, or Cincinnati at 11? That's why I said they're the most interesting teams. And then I think I could totally see us getting Daniel Jones, and I'll be miserable because I don't like him at all.
I wouldn't be thrilled about that either. Alright, so is there any other specific player or team you want to discuss?
I think it's going to be a great draft for not only pass rushers and interior linemen, for cornerbacks. There's so many great cornerbacks. I love Byron Murphy so much. More known as a zone cornerback, but I think he's so much more than that. He's a sure tackler, great instincts, great catch-up speed. Everyone likes their own, some people like Greedy Williams. You hear Rock Ya-Sin.
Love the name.
Yeah,
love the name.
DeAndre Baker from Georgia. There's so many different ways you can go. And I like Byron Murphy the best. That's my guy.
Okay. I like either Byron Murphy or Greedy. But
everyone's got their own guy.
I just really like Greedy's name, and Rocky Sin's name is awesome.
Yeah.
But of the three of them, if one's to fall, I'm going to go with Rocky Sin. Okay. Well, let's just discuss Seattle real quick, because they recently made a trade, Gurtis.
Love that trade for them, by the way.
Okay. Dive on in.
I think they only had 4 picks coming in. And now they have much more flexibility. I love the trade for them. Frank Clark he's good, but he's being overvalued because of his position, in my opinion. And I think he's more average than really good. And I think they way overpaid for him in salary and in draft picks. So I think Seattle just won that trade hands down. And I could totally see them getting his replacement in Clellan Farrell or Wilkins along the interior. NFL has him taking Jonathan Abram. I could also see that. I think they'll probably go defense.
So, depending on what we do at 6, Farrell's one of my targets at 17. So hopefully he doesn't fall that far to Seattle.
Could be gone, could be, yeah.
But Seattle does have 2 first-rounders in picks 21 and newly acquired 29. So, similar to Oakland, they have a bit of flexibility now, at least early on. And, we'll see what they do, but if they want to move up, take a certain guy, they can. They also recently re-signed Russell Wilson. So they're sort of locked in at quarterback.
Everyone's dream about him going to the Giants.
Yes. I was one who was really hoping that would happen, and clearly it did not, and will not.
Would have been tough.
Yeah. I guess Sierra's going to be a little upset. Alright, so we're nearing the end of the first round. I hate them, but I feel like we should discuss the Super Bowl champs.
Patriots.
The Patriots. They have the last pick this year, pick 32. And Belichick just keeps getting it done. They also have, I think, 12 picks this year.
Yeah, they have the same as us. They have the most time.
A lot, and they have a lot. I want to say 6 picks in the first 3 rounds. They're not late picks. They're very nice
The rich
picks.
get richer.
The rich get richer. So, at 32, who do they take? Last pick of the first round. Or do they trade up or out?
I don't, a lot of mock drafts, I see them going tight end. I don't think they'll reach for the need of tight end. And I don't blame them for not doing. I hate reaching for need, especially tight end. Tight ends take years to develop sometimes. Look at a guy like Zach Ertz. Like, all the potential and the hype around him. He took, 3 or 4 years to actually, really contribute. Now he's a top tight end, but it took him years. You rarely see a tight end make an impact right away. So I think they'll probably go offensive line. They just released Dwayne Brown. I could totally see them grabbing the best offensive lineman available if someone falls, Wilkins, Farrell, like I said, I doubt he'll be there. But if someone falls, I can see them. Belichick's always the guy that scoops him up. The guy that falls, that has potential, he'll scoop him up.
So if Gary's left, you think he'll grab him?
I could see that. Little project to develop.
Well, I think they do go tight end, but I don't think it's in the first round.
Yeah, then
Hawkinson, Fant. I think both of them will end up being first rounders, but Irv Smith out of Bama is someone I think they can get in the second round.
I like him too. Yeah.
So I do think they try to fill the need. They did also recently sign Austin Seferian Jenkins, who really hasn't been what everyone had hoped when he entered the league.
1 year deal, so they could still
Perfect deal.
Yeah.
Plus, they find gems out of nothing all
Very
the time.
true.
So we'll see. My guess is Irv Smith or somebody, because there are a lot of good tight ends, but like you said, not finished products, and they're not going to replace Gronkowski. They'll get a serviceable
Hall of
tight
Famer.
end,
Yeah,
but
it's not easy.
they're not just going to find the next Gronk. But I guess we will find out tomorrow.
Yes, we will.
So, also, I would just like to congratulate you in one of my 4 leagues last year. Actually, all 4 I was in the finals, but in one of them, my friend league, it was a very, very tough loss. I only had 1 loss on the whole year, and this man beat me.
Slow clap. I like it. Thank you, G.
Very upsetting, but congratulations to you.
I would like to thank Sir Patrick Mahomes. I have
Cup.
knighted him, so he is Sir Patrick Mahomes, and he is glorious.
It was a very good year. I had much success last year in fantasy,
True.
but that one left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth. I fully expected to walk through the league, and I fell
Victory is
1
sweet.
week short.
Victory is sweet, G-Man.
Anyway, that about does it for the first round of the NFL draft and our thoughts. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we say goodbye?
You know what? I just want to say that one of my favorite players who is now moving up, I see a lot, Brian Burns. If he's there at 17, I could totally see us, if we don't grab the best available, if we go Haskins at 6, I think Brian Burns would be a perfect fit if he's still there, but he's moving up. And I just want to say I've called that months ago.
Okay.
Because I really like Brian Burns. I think he'd be a perfect fit. He can play the outside linebacker position in our 3-4 defense. I love the guy. I think he's more than just a project. He's more of a finished project than people realize, and he's getting better with his technique. And I think he's going to be a huge difference maker.
Okay. At 17...
Doesn't have to be.
I don't know.
Any closing thoughts on a player you really like, or bold prediction, or
it's not bold, but Metcalf's not going to bust. Metcalf's not going to bust. I do have a question for you,
yes, sir.
because we think the Giants are going to probably have another mediocre year, we'll say. They do have a soft schedule, but on that schedule, and I believe it's week 10, but I could be off by a little there, we verse the Jets.
Yes, sir.
Quote unquote on the road. It's at MetLife, both teams are
Technically,
home.
the Jets are home.
But technically the Jets are home. Who's winning that game?
That's so tough, because it's like, by then you'll know how your season's going. The Jets are an interesting team because they have, now Darnold's in his second year. They've given him Le'Veon Bell.
They added Jameson Crowder.
So he's got a few more weapons to play with. But I think they're still young. I don't think they're ready to compete with the Patriots for the division title. I don't think they'll be a playoff team. I think they'll be around where we are, which will make it a close game. It's so tough because it's going to depend on how. I expected to have a good year last year. It was a train wreck. Neither would surprise me, and I think we'll be similar, 6-10 range, something like that. I'll give us the win, Not that it means a whole lot,
Yeah.
but we'll see. We'll see.
I'm gonna say they're farther along in their rebuild, but the Giants think they're farther along in their rebuild.
That's the thing. Are we
rebuilding?
Before we leave, I'd love to talk about this with the Giants. What is our Gettleman says he has a plan. He does not. I would just like to say that because the plan doesn't make any sense. If you're going and if you're saying that we have a plan and this is like, it sounds more like you're just making stuff up as you go along. Because you pay Odell Beckham, you make him at the time the highest paid receiver. You say you don't sign someone and trade him. Less than a year later, we traded him.
Yeah.
You say that we're rebuilding, yet we have a 38-year-old quarterback. You say we're rebuilding, and you sign Golden Tate, who's 31 years old, and plays the same position as Sterling Shepard. I like Golden Tate a lot, but he plays the slot just like Sterling Shepard. He'll be 35 by the time the contract ends.
I think they moved Shepard out of the slot.
It's like I'd rather move Golden Tate out of the slot personally, but it's like we're kind of rebuilding, but then we're kind of not.
Well, he said you can win and rebuild at the same time, and I don't know if that's actually possible, but I do think he has a plan. I just don't know how good that plan is. His plan, from what I've gathered, does involve acquiring comp picks.
Nate Solder's overpaid. He's getting older. Like, it's not a full rebuild because you still have
vets.
Yeah, you still have overpaid vets.
Contracts.
We're paying Odell Beckham to play for the Browns. We're paying Olivier Vernon to play for the Browns. And if you had a plan, it's not going very well. Not going very well. So, David Gettleman, I just want to say, I'm not a fan of his. I think he's good at evaluating talent. I never said he couldn't. He's more of a scout than a GM. He's good at evaluating players and finding talent, but he's not good at making a plan and making sure that player is put in the best position to succeed, which is your job.
Yeah, well, I mean, he has a bit of a track record. He did well with Carolina, but their roster was also a lot more polished at the time from previous regimes' draft classes and picks. We'll see. I do think he has a plan, like I said, but as you alluded to, it's a bit back and forth. You say one thing, you do the next, then you do something that contradicts the first thing. There's a lot going on, maybe, some would argue a little bit too much. And I agree. Having Odell under contract and playing for the Browns is awful. And we shouldn't have paid him. And if we did, like we did, we shouldn't have traded him. But we'll see how it plays out. I think this year is not going to be one of our better years. I think we'll be better than most people expect. 6-10, 7-9, something like that.
That's the problem. Then we
which
can't
is better
get a
than most
quarterback.
people expect.
Then we're gonna have to trade up.
But I think so many good quarterbacks are coming out next year that
You're
we can
banking on
still
one
get
of them.
one of them.
Okay.
Or we can trade up.
We shall see. Only time will tell.
Yeah. Anyway, that about does it. Enjoy the draft tomorrow, and go Giants.
Enjoy yourself.